so very strong experts in citizen science and collective intelligence. They have over, so it's a mix between a university and an interdisciplinary center that has over 10,000 projects that came out of the CRI, and about 60 researchers and upwards of 350 students who are based in Paris. And the Weaving Lab is a network of leaders who we call weavers, and who are coming from more than 40 countries, and there's upwards of 150 weavers that we've identified as exceptional leaders who are really good at making collaboration happen for systemic transformation. So I hope that's clear. If you have any questions, post them in this chat. And in the meantime, Morgan is gonna walk us through a little more of about what we actually mean by collective visioning, and what problem we're trying to tackle, as well as the solution we've crafted for it.
Great, thanks so much, Zeneb. Hi, I'm Morgan Silver-Greenberg. I'm a co-founder of University for the Planet with Pavel Lucha. I guess I'll give a little context about how we're going to structure the call as well. So that's a little bit on who we are. I'm going to talk about where the project came from, what we're trying to do. And then Zeneb is going to speak a little bit about, or actually we're going to engage in an exercise together, about a 5 or 10 minute exercise, 5-minute exercise probably. And then we're going to break into groups to talk about partnerships. So anyone who wants to talk about partnerships or how they can contribute to the project, they can remain on. And Nick, Zeneb, and I will all have breakout sessions. So firstly, yeah, thank you so much for joining. The way that the project started is, with the social distancing measures that are in place and the sort of massive disruption caused by COVID-19, we have lost a lot of the spaces that we come together in to make sense of the world and to make sense of the future together. So whether that's the workplace, the place of worship, the sort of community centers or civic centers that we find ourselves in face to face with our neighbors and other people that we want to figure out what's going on in the world, and not having that space, we wanted to create a safe space for us to get together and talk about the future. We really are doing that for 2 reasons. One is that it's necessary for us as human beings to have a positive view of the future and to kind of walk that balance between something that's not idealistic but also realistic. And we do that collectively. We do that by coming together, and maybe more importantly, we also believe that as COVID-19 puts stress on the systems that sort of govern how we interact together as people and in society, we can see the failures of those systems, and that we believe it's a really great time to come together to reimagine how those systems can be in service of the planetary well-being and all the people living on the planet. And so this is sort of the goal of the research that the CRI does, that Learning Planet does to mobilize people around the SDGs, that University for the Planet does to sort of advance these systems, and what the Weaving Lab does to bring together this network of change makers. So we have 3 pieces to the project. The first is to have these collective visioning sessions. And these collective visioning sessions, we invite whatever communities to come together to have this simple prompt about what if, what could be. And after this, I'll show I'll show my screen and show the website, which is pretty simple. So the main goal for that is to involve as many communities to take part in this question of what the future can look like. That's a necessary conversation to then creating change. The next piece of the project is to create a map of the future. So as Zeneb mentioned, there's a whole bunch of information coming at everyone. People, there's so many different possibilities of how the future can fork and change. And what we want to do is start to create a map of all the different forces at play. What are the challenges that we face? What are the opportunities we face? What are the things that we want to see? And to use this map to understand the bigger picture, but also to understand if you want to make a contribution or if you're working on a specific change you want to see in the world, how do you start to map where that is and connect to other people? And that really brings us to the last piece of the project, which is to find projects that are happening all over the world to create both a library of this work, as well as to take those conversations that we've had around the intention of the change that we want to see and move it into action. So we're building a library. This is, again, where the work with the Cree and Learning Planet is really important. They have this whole projects interface that I'll walk through. And the goal is to have projects from all over the world that people can see to either contribute their time or energy to, or to use as templates to then meet the needs of their own local communities at whatever scale people are working on. So I'll share my screen quickly, and we can. I'll just show you what the website looks like. Can everyone see that? Give me a thumbs up if you can. Okay, great. So I'll walk through this very, very quickly. It begins with this quote: "You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one." This is the idea that we have to take this moment to come together and think about what could be. There's a quick link to becoming a facilitator. Here talks a little bit about the collective sense-making sessions. Here you can click on the map of the future if you want to contribute to this map. And then this goes to projects.opencovid.care. And so here's a crowdsource future timeline. This is something that you can contribute to. Here's the partners that are all a part of it. And one of the things that Zainab will talk about is how we want to create more partnerships and put this in as many change-making communities as possible. And then I can show you, everything's pretty simple and linked to in Google Docs. So this is what the sense-making imagination pack looks like. It's in all of these different languages. It comes with an event guide and a call to action. And there's another one for the map and another one for projects. So this is what it looks like. We're just launching today, so this is pretty exciting. And I'll let Zainab lead us in the next exercise.
Hey, awesome. So as Morgan mentioned, partly what we're trying to do here is definitely like engage people's imagination in this both collective visioning, so understanding collective sense making, I mean, so understanding what's currently happening, but also starting to kind of unleash the sense of possibility. And I know that for a lot of people, and myself included, obviously, we're very much conditioned to see the future as a continuation of the past. And given this unique time in history, we actually do have a chance to kind of expand our thinking. So we're going to give you a short writing prompt that we use in some of our longer facilitation around radical imagination. So this is really meant to be a short taster that comes perhaps a little bit without the whole context, but I'm going to put the writing prompt in the chat. And then what I'll invite you to do is choose one of them, or if you write very fast, all of them, and just write what is coming up for you. You can either write it in the chat or in your personal journal, that doesn't really matter. But we'll take about 5 minutes to do that and to get a sense or get a feel for the kind of activities that we do, both with our changemaker communities and with young people. So we'll stop at 9:28. So yeah, just as to give enough time for us to have questions since we started a bit late, but enjoy the writing exercise, hopefully. 1 minute left. Okay. Okay, so hopefully this exercise gives you a little bit of a sense of the kind of reflections we want to engage in. And I think it's interesting also to see the difference between, like, we're not trying to say the future needs to be seen only in optimistic ways. On the contrary, like the goal is to make both versions of the future vivid in our imagination as a way that we have something to go towards and something that we want to avoid in society, and make both visions very clear. So I just want to take a couple of comments to get a sense of how people felt doing this exercise. Maybe just one comment, because unfortunately we are a little bit short on time. Karima, might I call on you? Or is she still here? Adina, would you mind just sharing a little bit? I know you had a very interesting comment there, and it's yeah.
You're referring to what more specifically?
Just your comments on how it feels doing this exercise. Like, does it open up something that you didn't necessarily see before, or does it make some anxieties come forward, or some visions of the world that you hadn't necessarily seen?
I believe that this exercise comes naturally because these are questions that all of us somehow have in mind for such a long time. Now, maybe not in this specific form, but at least regarding the content, these are things that we consider since we got aware that this pandemic is really changing the world, our world, and everything. And when it was obvious that we couldn't project, we started to think about these questions. At least I did. Therefore, for me, this exercise was a natural one in respect to the questions, but I'm so not familiar with writing on the phone while being on Zoom. This whatever that doesn't matter anymore. I'm managing. Even
Indeed.
yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you very much for your contribution.
You're
Adina.
welcome. Thank you.
But hopefully this little taster gives you a sense of the kind of conversation we engage with both community leaders as well as young people, on just opening the sense of let's imagine together, let's be bold in the way we imagine as well. So this is definitely meant to be a very short taster. And on that, like, we just kind of want to open up more the conversation about the type of collaborations that we're looking for. I just want to start by really thanking the Catalyst 2030 team, as well as the initiative in itself. We really love the call to partnerships because I think as a group and personally, we think that in this moment, it is about the new relationships that we're building. And it is about the soil that we build together so that we can actually start imagining viable alternatives that go beyond the current siloing that we currently have. And I think that when it comes to the topic of collective intelligence, we have just started scratching the surface of what is actually possible. And as I mentioned in my introduction, I'm currently based in the Silicon Valley, where a lot of tech people definitely think that it is machines and data mining and algorithms that are going to unlock collective intelligence. But I personally believe that social change, social change moves at the speed of relationships, and relationships move at the speed of trust. And so it is time for us to actually connect more, meet new people, engage in interesting conversations. As we're building this project, we're definitely learning a lot about how to do that, and looking for people to learn with. So more specifically, there's 3 types of partnerships that we're very interested in engaging in. The first one is what we're calling sense-making partners, to go with the 3 topics that Morgan mentioned earlier. So it's partners in general who want to take our facilitation package, improve them, modify them, but engage in community conversations with the communities that they're serving around this opening of a sense of possibility and discussing these future scenarios in context-specific places so that we can disseminate the facilitation packages and start feeding what people think the future might be like as well. So any person who's interested in that would be fantastic. The second type of partner is more what we're calling mapping partners. So it's either organizations or individuals who want to help us not only just build predictions, but actually visualize the types of predictions and the type of, and the type of world around these predictions. Because as of now, you'll see in the website, the predictions are put in a linear way, but our goal is to actually create clusters of predictions that go together for people to actually sense and feel what the future might be like, and add like an explosion of expressions for them, whether that's speculative fiction or art. There is a way that the future can come to life in ways that we haven't necessarily explored before. So any partner who both is, I don't know, either very keen on futurist type of activities, or who's very good at design or understanding how art comes into that, it would be fantastic to partner on those questions. And the last type of partners is what we're calling project partners, which is trying to link those futures with current projects that are happening. Not only just linking the two, but actually thinking of architectures that we as a collective can also make sense of the information in a way that I don't think all information is flat, and I think that there is a hierarchy of information and leverage points that we need to be identifying, and like key points of action where the capacity of collaborations or the ability of collaborations and advocacy movements to really move the needle exist. And so it's both about identifying those and identifying projects who are part of making the futures that we want to see, or are part of stopping the futures that we're fearing. And Morgan also put the website in the chat. So don't hesitate to contact us that way as well. But what we would like to do now is actually break into breakout rooms and discuss ways that we might be partnering on those topics together for people who might be interested in this conversation.
Zineb, can I just add one little thing?
Yeah, of course.
Quickly, just as info. At the very moment, and it just happened, it was not planned at all, but I had a conflict of agenda between being here with you and facilitating a workshop. within a teacher network. And in that teacher network, the conversation is exactly that. The questions they are asking is, what tomorrow when we meet our students, what's going to happen? Whereas today, they're actually meeting their students. Not all their students, but today they're experiencing something very new. So we're trying to say, okay, yes, what you're doing today will define tomorrow. So I told them I was going to be here in this platform, sharing with you and learning from this exchange. And and at the same time, that workshop is ongoing. So I'll be coming and going, and whatever they have on that platform, they're reflecting as teachers today on exactly these questions, bringing in that today experience, and the today experience is going to design, is going to shape tomorrow's school. But let's reflect and feel and be aware of what is the very, very silent transformation that is happening right now. It's really a very subtle shift in the sense of self, the collective sense of self, and the relationship between school and society. So just wanted to share that because we were excited to know that it was going to be like coming and going between these two platforms.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing, Karima. I mean, I'm glad you're sharing this. And indeed, I think you're pointing out the thing that's very important is that this conversation is happening on so many different levels with so many different people. And to some extent, the point here is how do we make this a collective narrative where we see ourselves? Because what's currently projected as a narrative is one that is crafted not by the people who are having these conversations. So part of the dynamic here is how we make that surface in a way where we can all feel part of the story. So yeah, thanks for for mentioning that.
Yeah, Karima, I wanted to add on a little bit of that. One of the things that we're looking to do is host these future sense-making sessions with lots of different communities, and educators are really at the top of the list. There's some work that Pavel Luksha is leading with the World Academy of Sciences and a few other educator networks. And on our website, once these different communities reach out and start to modify the facilitation pack for their own needs, we're going to have sections based on the different communities and their needs, where we'll be keeping different facilitation packs and different sort of knowledge packs around what these different communities are creating as they sense the future and think about what that looks like for them and their practices.
Indeed. I don't know if we can move into breakout sessions so that we can deepen the conversation.
You want me to? I can do that now.
That would be fantastic. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I think two breakouts would be enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you can put some of the different parts of our team in both of them, that would be great. So
definitely, we'll do that. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Actually, if you guys don't mind, Karima, did you want to finish your comment? She was having a very interesting point on, on the shift between imagining the present and imagining the future,
Yes.
and what that might look like. And I think it was very valuable to hear. So if you don't mind.
Well, we have a partnership with the Ministry of Education in Morocco, and that partnership, the idea is how to humanize school in Morocco. When this happened, this pandemic, there was a moment of silence, and it was very important to give the time to that silence. Then they came to us, and we started working with the inspectors. The first questions they had is tomorrow. How are we going to prepare for tomorrow? What are we going to do for tomorrow? So these, as you said, Zina, these are questions that everybody are asking. The first thing we did is to bring them today. What are you doing today? Because there's a risk. You say it implicitly, you said it earlier. Obviously, if we're going to think tomorrow, let's see what we get from today. But if we put everybody looking at tomorrow and the future, we're missing out. There's a risk of really missing out of how we're coping today. What are we doing today? What can we do today with this situation and learn from it? So and that in a certain way will create the conditions for that tomorrow. So I am very mindful, even with the teachers in the facilitation workshops that we have, that we facilitate, when they go to the future, we bring them, what are you doing today? How are you doing it? How are you feeling? How is your relationship changing? How does that relate to how you did yesterday? And that is, I feel, what really is going to make a difference for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. No, thank you, Karima, very much for mentioning that for a couple of reasons. Well, firstly, it's super interesting hearing about your experience as always. But in general, I think you're pointing out to a couple of things, and that perhaps we should have been clear on as well. The process is a what is to what if. So first of all, we want to attend to the feelings and healing that people need to experience in the moment. And it is about this relationship creation and anchoring in the moment that we need to be experiencing collectively. So definitely, I don't think it's clashing, but it's definitely making, and we'll talk about it further, I suppose, but it's definitely making me think, like, how do we go from the present to the future and back to the present? And perhaps that's the loop that so far we haven't yet explored as much of, and putting a finger on that was very useful. So really appreciate the feedback. And so on that, I actually wanted to thank again Catalyst 2030. We're super, super excited to be part of this initiative. As I mentioned earlier, the relationships that we're building now are absolutely essential. And it is what we can do in the present to get more prepared for the future. And there is this clear alignment that we have with in terms of visions in this objective of creating systemic change, and cross-pollinating the partnerships that we have with the different organizations, whether it's Catalyst 2030, School, Ashoka, Weaving Lab, so that the networks can actually come together and move towards the same direction for the world that we want to see. And so thank you again to the Catalyst 2030 team for putting this together. We also know this was put super fast and in such an efficient and beautiful way. So tons and tons of gratitude for that. We are going to put our emails in the chat. And please do not hesitate to let us know if you want to receive more information about this. You also have received, you've also, Morgan has also copied the opencovid.care/future website, which has plenty of information on it, as well as ways to become a facilitator and the packages that we're putting in. And we're adding facilitation packages every week. So yeah, just let us know, give us feedback, partner with us in any way. We're definitely very open to that. And yeah, Morgan, Nick, do you want to add something?
No, just thank you so much for joining. And I think if we want to build this vision that we see, it's going to require a lot of collaboration, a lot of coming together to imagine what that future can look like, to map what that knowledge looks like together, and then also to build these global projects and learn from one another. So, we recognize how difficult of a time this is for everyone, but also with that difficulty comes an opportunity to create something new. So thank you so much for joining and helping us make this larger.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
See you soon.
Bye.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh,
Bye.